I started collecting motorcycles in 1973 when I watched two or three of the greatest bikes ever designed and built. The Laverda SFC, the Ducati 750 SS, the Moto Guzzi Le Mans 1, coming out of the factory to Florence where I was living. I became friends with all the dealers in Florence, and these dealers had so many unsold Italian bikes. So he took me downstairs in his beautiful shop, the MV dealer in Florence. We go down below and there is this incredible vaulted ceiling with bikes lined up on either side of rows of the most beautiful unsold Italian bikes from the early 70s. And I said to him that if I could ever afford it, I would love to recreate this somewhere in America so people could see these beautiful bikes as works of art. My collection starts actually from 1950 and goes to 1980. How I got started with my first collectible was an interesting story. I came back from Italy to visit my parents who were living in Los Angeles, and I went to the races up in Laguna Seca. And from the distance, I spot a red, white, and blue motorcycle. I go, could that be an MV Agusta 750 Sport here in America? I borrowed my friend's binoculars and I look, and there it is, sitting in a sea of Japanese bikes is this pristine 750S MV Agusta, twin cam, 4 cylinders, aluminum motor, one of the most beautiful bikes ever built, sold new for $4,700 in 1972. A lot of money for a motorcycle, 3 times a Japanese bike. So I hiked down to the bike and I left a note on the bike saying, I'm in from Italy, love to talk to you about your motorcycle. And this wonderful guy calls me from San Francisco and he says, yes, I'm a MV fanatic and they're importing them out of Texas. So I called the importer and I bought 2. I bought a 750S and an 850 Monza, brand new. And that started my collection. But the bike of all bikes that started it is really the 750 because it's an absolute work of art. People in Germany, industrialists, keep them in their living rooms. You'll find them more in homes than you will in garage or in somebody's office. It's not that they're that pleasant to drive anymore because they're kind of heavy and bulky, but the sound is exquisite, the looks are exquisite, and it's like buying a Ferrari, something to keep forever. I chose each bike here as works of art. Whether they're recognized worldwide as works of art or have that value is immaterial to me. But there are 5 or 6 outstanding bikes in the collection. One is the Gilera Saturno Puma Electron, a long name for one of 2 bikes left in the world. They're factory works bikes. They made 4 for Ubbiali, the famous racer. I have one of the 2 remaining. The other one's in Italy. It's a magnesium motor. Electron in Italian is magnesium or magnesio. The other is my Gamba Lunga Moto Guzzi. And Gamba Lunga means long legs. Some people think it's because the length of the bike, but it also could be the stroke of the motor. So it's a Gamba Lunga 500, and it competed against that Gilera that I just mentioned. And that's really a special motorcycle. It's also a works bike. And down in the other garage is one other works bike of really special note, and that's the Ciccato. The Ciccato was a 100cc and 75cc race bike that did very well in the early 50s and held the land speed record for 100cc motorcycles. And also the great engineer Taglioni, Fabio Taglioni, designed the bike and the motor. So it's his first great motor. To anybody who's a motorcyclist, this is a historic piece. Very hard to find anywhere in the world to see one other than Italy, because they didn't, well, in Argentina, they imported them to Argentina. And then up here in this collection, up here is more the sport bikes or production racers. And there's 2 or 3. One is the beautiful Ducati Elite that was at the Guggenheim Museum for so many years, 4.5 years. The SFC Laverda, which is this outstanding twin that was used for endurance racing in Italy, little known outside of Italy, very collectible today. It was a centerpiece at the Guggenheim exhibit. Then another bike, it is the Perilla Grand Sport with the full fairing that I bought and waited for 15 years to buy it. It is all original, unrestored. And then all the Mondials. Mondial is the lesser known of all the great marques in Italy outside of Italy. They ruled in small displacement from 1947 to 1958. When you look at the works bikes, you'll see that they're very limited production bikes. Not one of them really looks alike because they're hand-built by the factory for their individual racers who are hired to race just for them. And they were given the very best of what bikes were available at the time, and those were known as works bikes. Once in a while, a year or two later, a racer, say, who wanted to race one could get a hold of one from the factory because they sold them after a year because they produced something new and better each year. So we would call the next generation of racers production racers, meaning if you had a racing license, you could go buy one from the factory over the counter. And many of the bikes in this room are over-the-counter racers. But the production bikes are probably even more beautiful and they're more finished looking. You might want to make note of this beautiful bilanciarino designed by Taglioni. And that's right here, this Mondial. That's a famous motorcycle of the production racers. You could go buy that and win races on Saturday. The reason some of these bikes look small is because, well, first of all, they're small displacement, the motor, 100, 125, 175s, 250s. That was the bike of choice for the Italian after World War II. Good on gas, economical to buy and to run. But the small displacement bikes are just as quick, up to 85 miles an hour. The bigger bikes, the 500s and the 750s and the 1000s, were basically a product of the 70s when they had to build bigger, faster bikes. Cars were going faster. My Laverda Jota that's in this collection, from the factory did 145 miles an hour in 1978, the fastest production bike in the world. It's called the Jota because it's a dance with three people in Barcelona. The reason Ducati probably still today is such a strong mark is it's aesthetically the most beautiful bike ever built. I've never seen such beautiful design as Tamburini's designs or Terreblanche's designs for Ducati. Starting with the early bikes, what hit the fancy of Ducatisti around the world was in 1972 and 3 and 4 when they were winning world titles with the 750 Supersport, Imola, and then again with the 860. It set the bike apart from all the others. It was lithe, it was anthropomorphic. You could see the beauty of the sinews, of the heart and the lungs of the bike. And then it has desmodromics. Now desmodromics, discovered probably by the Germans from Mercedes, but Taglioni brilliantly incorporated desmodromics into the top of the motor so that it wouldn't have valve float at high revs, which allowed in the 70s bikes to rev higher. They were raw, loud, and beautiful. Aesthetically so beautiful. That's what got me started, really. It was that these Italian bikes are so gorgeous to look at. The paint, even the decals were artistic.